Hey, what is up, guys? You're watching Epic Pokemon TCG. In today's video, guys, what I have for you, we're going to be discussing the new changes coming to the Pokemon TCG, of course, with the expansion said Sword and Shield. So we have some things coming up. The first turn rule change is not the only thing that is going to be happening to the game, and honestly, some of the decisions that they're making are pretty interesting. I made an entire video on the first turn rule change thing. I'm not against it in the slightest. It'll be weird. I honestly am one of the people that I do think that first turns were becoming a little too ridiculous. And at some points, honestly, I've seen some ridiculous turn ones. I've had some ridiculous turn ones. And to be honest with you, I think it's a slightly good idea because I've seen people just build incredible boards in 2 turns because they went first and they were able to just kind of get going before their opponent. If you do have a different opinion on that, that is, of course, that's your opinion. It's cool. It's completely okay to have a different opinion on this. But essentially, there will be a restriction saying that the player that goes first cannot play a supporter card on their first turn. Now, when I first started, you could only attach an attack. I mean, you couldn't play anything. Only thing you could do was attach energy and call your attack, and then that was it. I mean, granted, it was a completely different game back then, but I think this is okay because when you think about it now, I mean, you have like welder, you have all that stuff, and then like you can play down a bunch of cards, you can search out Dedenne, get a fresh hand of six, and just kind of keep going from there. And so I think with this rule change coming up, I think it'll kind of like balance things out slightly. And honestly, if it becomes a complete and total disaster, they might change it back. Who knows? But weakness and resistance is the next thing. For over a decade, resistance has meant a Pokemon takes 20 less damage from attacks of the listed type. However, Pokemon introduced to Sword and Shield series will have a resistance of 30 instead of 20. So that means, yeah, your attacks are going to be doing 30 less damage when you're whenever your opponent's resistant. So that's pretty crazy right there. Also, we have some weakness changes here. So this is actually pretty cool. So water type will be listed to lightning instead of grass. This is something that I'm kind of used to because when I first started, everything like water was weak to electric, which is I don't know. Like whenever it shifted to grass, it was weird, and then it was like a psyche that like my friends and I kind of had for a long time. We just kept forgetting that stuff was weak to grass instead of electric. Psychic type Pokemon, weakness to darkness instead of psychic. This is something that I've actually been wanting for quite some time. I feel like it's kind of dumb that psychic was only um, yeah, I feel like it was kind of dumb that like darkness or nothing like that ever like affected them. Granted, you have different types represented in psychic being like poison. Of course, you have psychic and then for a long time. I think there was another one I can't remember. But also we have something crazy coming up with psychic here when I get to that in a second. Darkness type Pokemon, weakness to grass instead of fighting. I think that poison Pokemon are going to be represented in the darkness type coming up, so I think that's why that's coming up. So that'd be pretty cool. And you may also find that some types of Pokemon have a resistance that they didn't have in the past, so be on the lookout for these changes to weakness and resistance, which is actually really cool. So it seems like Sword and Shield is completely changing up the game here. And then type rearrangement, this one is really, really weird. I don't understand the logic behind this one. The fairy type, which was introduced in the X and Y series, will no longer be supported in the Sword and Shield series. Pokemon that are the fairy types in the Pokemon video game series will now be generally represented as Psychic type Pokemon in the Pokemon TCG. So this is actually pretty interesting, and I'm guessing this is one of the reasons why they're shifting to darkness on the weakness thing. I think dark is it dark? I might be wrong, but yeah. God dang it, I can't remember the video games now. There's so many freaking types, and I've what's bad is I've been playing Pokemon Sword like crazy. So anyway, I might be wrong there, so ignore me. But yeah, so it's kind of crazy that they're just completely ditching Fairy. But it reads on to say, for the time being, basic fairy energy can still be used in the standard format, but that may change in the future. So they're just kind of like saying, all right, we tried fairy. I guess they didn't like it, or something's going on, and they're just kind of moving on, which is incredibly odd. I don't really understand because some of like the craziest decks we've had come out were fairy types, and maybe that's why. Maybe like Guardian, they're just like, all right, we're done. Like this was a disaster. We're done. Which is crazy because we had all those like fairy tools and such come out throughout the uh, Sun and Moon series. Yeah. Next up, card erratas. So we have like different card erratas for like energy retrieval, Lumberry, Palpad, Citrus. I mean, there's like a bunch of random different ones. I don't really need to go over too much here. Plentiful Professor. So, as you guys know, every single time a Professor card seems to come out that isn't Kukui, it has a discard draw 7 effect. and that's basically been like the supporter of supporters ever since like Juniper hit a long time ago. So the card's Professor's Research will debut in the Pokemon TCG Sword and Shield. Players may remember this card's effect from the previous cards, Professor Juniper and Professor Sycamore. I read that backwards, but I was doing it in chronological order. But anyway, from now on, instead of giving a card a new name each time the name Professor's Research will be used, if the card is updated in the future, the new professor's name will appear in the upper right corner of the card, but the card's name will remain Professor's Research. In the expanded format, there's already a rule that say you can't play Professors Juniper and Sycamore in the same deck. Players must choose one or the other. The same rule applies to Professor's Research, meaning it cannot be in the same deck as Professor Juniper or Sycamore. So this is actually pretty cool. I'm guessing I don't even know this chick's name. She appeared like twice so far where I'm at in Pokemon Sword, and I'm pretty deep in the game. I just beat the Fairy Gym. But anyway, I can't remember this chick's name to save my life, which is kind of crazy. Getting back to like the first turn rule, really the only supporter getting affected by this rule that like I can think of that stands out and is actually relevant. Some people be like, oh, well, this supporter gets affected, but it'll be some random nonsense supporter that's barely used. But anyway, that seems like to be the major thing. It's like one of my favorite comments is like, oh, like I uploaded a deck once and someone asked me, what are you gonna do against this deck? And it was like some like random rogue deck that like barely anyone played, and I was just like, if I, like the off chance that I'm 0 and 3 and I run into this deck, it's whatever. But anywho, getting back, I'm trailing off. I'm getting sidetracked. So basically, the only supporter that really sticks out that is getting affected by this first turn rule is obviously Lily. So that's like the big supporter that's getting affected here. But, but we have Professor's Research coming out, so I think it's not really that big of a deal. Because essentially, what you could just do with this logic is you could just swap out your lilies for Professor's Research. With Lily, most of the time you're playing your hand size down anyway, so that way you can draw till you have 6. Whereas with Professor's Research, you discard your hand and draw 7. You're getting an additional card. You're potentially pitching useless cards out of your hand. Yes, you have that chance to pitch resources as well, but I feel like it's not really that big of a deal. Yes, drawing till you have 8 is wonderful, and I love Lily. It is one of my favorite supporters ever, especially the second art they've released. That's like my favorite, the one I use in all my decks pretty much. But honestly, though, I mean, I feel like it's okay. I mean, yes, we are losing Lily's like first turn magic for the most part, but I feel like with this card, Professor's Research, it'll be fine. So, this is a completely random rule that changes absolutely nothing unless they start printing the term Pokemon Checkup on cards. A new term called Pokemon Checkup will replace the phrase between turns. Sure, but it works the same way. After a player's turn is complete, you'll enter Pokemon Checkup before going to the next player's turn. Here are the steps that occur during Pokemon Checkup. So yeah, you just do all the yeah, check for special conditions in this order: poison, burned, asleep, and paralyzed. Now, that is a really important thing to remember, guys. If you can ever like just memorize that you have to do poison, burn, asleep, and paralyzed in that order, trust me, it'll help you out a ton. And then, of course, you check the abilities. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think you have to do it in like this order here. And then you check to see if any Pokemon are knocked out. This changes absolutely nothing unless there's cards that just say Pokemon Checkup. Like when you enter Pokemon Checkup, I don't know if they will. I haven't really been reading up too much on the cards. Okay, back in the Black and White series, the term heal was introduced. For example, the card Potion says heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. Prior to that, it would have said remove 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon. For the Sword and Shield, I think I said Sword. For the Sword and Shield series, a similar term will be introduced for effects that remove special conditions. Going forward, this term will be known as Recover. As an example, the Pokemon Center Lady has been updated in Sword and Shield to say heal 60 damage from one of your Pokemon, and it recovers from all special conditions. It still has the same effect, but now the word Recover can be associated with special conditions, just like heal is associated with the damage. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's just some random text. Like it reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like they're adding random like just words for things. Reminder text removal. In the past, abilities that can be used during your turn included the reminder text before your attack. To clarify, the attacking was the last thing you could do before or in a turn. Starting in the Sword and Shield, that reminder text won't appear anymore, which Oh my God. In some cases, the reminder text could cause the text to be incorrect since there are some abilities that can be used during the effects of attacks. For example, if you use person GX's slash back GX attack and switch it to Heatran GX, Heatran's GX burning road ability activates when it becomes active, even though that happens during the attack. Prevents this confusion altogether. The reminder text will be removed in the Sword and Shield series. I'm okay with this as long as there's not cards printed to where stupid people are gonna think they can do stuff on other people's turns. I don't know why. Like I don't know. Like I like this is I'm cool with it because obviously it did mess with some text things, but for God's sakes, I'm just hoping that that one person out there does not think they can do effects at the wrong time. Anyway, moving on. Okay, regulation marks. This one is one that people are pretty excited about. You may notice that cards from the Sword and Shield series have a white box containing a letter in the bottom left corner. For example, all cards in Sword and Shield will have the expansion have a D mark. This is a regulation mark and will be used in the future to determine which cards are legal to use in tournament play. For example, there might be a point in time when cards with only the deregulation mark can be used in the standard format. This change will get more attention in the future, but now just or for now, just take note that it's there. This is actually really cool. I feel like this kind of simplifies just everything. Like okay, like we don't have to like sit there and remember sets and all that. If they did this with promo cards as well, that is going to be amazing. Which I think this is what this is. Let me get my old eyes up. Okay, yeah, I think that's a promo. Yes, that is amazing. Okay, that clarifies so much and like really makes it super specific because sometimes you forget promo card, man. Like that's like one of my biggest issues is I'll forget freaking promo cards. This is great. Okay, if they just put this on cards and like they rotate stuff out and they're like, okay, hey, yeah, so you can still use these promo cards, but the big thing you guys need to look at is stuff with the deregulation mark is still legal. That'll just make things so much easier. There are a lot of new things to learn in the Pokemon Sword and Shield series. This is only the beginning, and there may be more changes and updates as the expansions get released. Be sure to check back at Pokemon.com for all the latest news on the Pokemon TCG. And if they do anything like this again in the future, I will make sure to cover it. So, aside from the random, like, we're Yu-Gi-Oh! And now we have terms for everything in the game, and the fact that they're just completely doing away with Fairy for some odd reason, this is pretty cool. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, it's weird. And I didn't even go over the card writers because it's like some of these aren't even legal anymore. But honestly, overall, I mean, I'm cool with the first turn rule change. I like the deregulation mark. That's pretty cool. Um, Resistance is crazy. That's gonna be wild. And then like while I think it's pretty cool that they're doing like type weaknesses and stuff, I still think like like some decks and some such, being weak to different things is I feel like if they just kind of mixed it up more, that'd be like really fun, which they are doing, and that's awesome. There is one thing that is bugging me about Sword and Shield, and it's not really something I can touch upon in this video. But overall, these rule changes are going to be pretty cool to see in the upcoming future and see how all that just kind of, you know, just kind of see how it all goes. But yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section below. I know the rule change for like the first turn is like the big controversial thing. A lot of people are hating about it and like a lot of people are just like really upset for some reason. I have seen people go in full on tantrum rant mode over this for some dang reason. I mean, like once it comes back to you, it's a regular game, and like I'm cool with this. I made an entire video on this, and like my biggest argument was that there might be something coming out that we don't even know about, and that's why they're doing this. And I'll be honest with you guys, like I've seen some U box decks just have like a turn one welder that goes into a Dedenne that goes into all kinds of crap, and it's like okay, that's their first turn, and then like when it comes back to them again, they're completely ready to go and they're set up and they're doing all kinds of crap, and then the person that went second is having to like recover their board. They're already down like 2 to 3 prizes depending on the setup that the other person had, and it's just wild. And I think that this is okay. I know that not all decks can do that. That's definitely something that I understand. But at the same time, I feel like going first, there's consequences to going first in other games, and like Pokemon is just becoming faster and faster with more damage, more HP, and such like that. So I think this was a good idea. I'm all for it, and I think that once we get some hands-on playing with the first turn rule change, I feel like it'll be something that people will just adjust to and they'll realize it's not as bad as they were making out to be. But yeah, that's just my take on it personally. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, let me give me a thumbs up. I can't speak today. I apologize. I have been struggling ever since I woke up to speak. I cannot freaking English today. But yeah. Anyway, take care, guys. Love you. This is Pokemon TCG signing out. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below.
Don't forget to like, follow, and obey.